telling police officers, not giving opinions on the evidence. That's my claim.
Well, the unusual nature of this trial is that there is about 6 or
Agreed. Some of this is interrogation tactics, that it's allowed, and what they say can be taken, doesn't have to be taken at face value. But when the witness is now in the room telling the jury what his conclusion, based on hearsay, that he uncovered all this other evidence and they've gathered it, and then to basically offer his opinion on the credibility as opposed to what's said in.
essentially, Detective Kimball, you had 3 interviews because you didn't believe the first 2. That's it. The jury can easily draw that conclusion because
with some clients and I want the house to look.
what the court is doing is the result of what the court is doing may be, in counsel's view, to deny the defendant an effective defense.
Yeah, I apologize. I'll rephrase that the effect of the court's ruling is to deny the defendant the right to present a defense. And I just want to clarify, though, is the court also precluding general teaching testimony on the subject as well, even if it does not refer to the specifics of this case?
Well, the court has no idea what is going to be the testimony. That's the concern.
Well, I
And
didn't.
here's what the court did not want and would not allow: that there be a rerun of these 7 hours and the videos be stopped, and then the expert is asked, what about this? What about that? 25 minutes in, what about that? 18 minutes after that, what about that? The court wouldn't allow that. So even if the court were to indicate there'd be some testimony allowed, it wouldn't allow that.
Understood.
And the court's second view is there's a Sixth Amendment right to a speedy and public trial before an impartial jury in the state and district in which the crime shall have been committed, which shall have been previously ascertained by law. The defendant shall have the right to cross-examine, bring in their own witnesses, subpoena witnesses, and have counsel for their defense. That does not mean a defendant can present any kind of defense at any time for however long with whatever continuance is needed in any manner. You may proceed.
Judge, may I just be heard briefly?
Yes.
So firstly, he misreads Manousis entirely. Manousis does grant the court the authority to order the expert to produce in writing their opinions. That's number one. Number two, I would just note that Attorney Schoenhorn's argument really is a house of cards and it collapses, because what he indicated is that, once again, a false equivalency, that somehow the court is being unfair to the defense at this point, because we've been asking for it. They haven't done it. Now, because the court has precluded the testimony, they apparently want to dump a report on our laps at the last minute in some last-ditch effort to try to save this testimony. And it's still a late disclosure. We still don't know how much time we're going to need to digest this report, whether or not it's valid. By the way, Attorney Schoenhorn said it's not scientific. Well, if it's not scientific, then it shouldn't be admissible. That's my view. Because as the court indicated, if it's just general testimony, it's not expert testimony. So that's the first thing. But to try to have them resurrect this proffer after just arguing with the court for 15 minutes about how they didn't have to produce a report, I'd ask the court to not revisit its ruling, because we're still gonna be in the place we are, which is, we're gonna get a report dumped on our lap on Monday night, and we're gonna be expected to cross next week, and it's unfair.
Well, here's what the court is inclined to do. Of course, the report is going to be admitted as a full exhibit, correct? If there is a report, that's what generally would have to happen. The court would require, and this is irregular, the court would require what the court will term a report, in whatever form it comes, by tonight at midnight. Email the court with the report, so the court knows that it has come in, made available to the state. Counsel had
I'll just say,
indicated.
Your Honor, I don't even know if we could reach these individuals by tonight, so that's part of the concern. Dr. Loftus is in California, and Professor Marion is in Chicago.
And there it is. That's what I'm talking about. They wanna dump it on us.
Well, the court's ruling is tonight at midnight. They have assistants, the court would suspect, graduate students, fellows, and the court wants to know it has come in by tonight at midnight, and that the state has had an opportunity to receive it.
We need 5-minute recess so we can make a phone call right now.
That's fine. Let's come back in at 5 minutes after 4.
When he shows it to some clients, in particular.
And no kind of fight it is?
No, but it's an old one. It's like a
Is
20.
it a Mercier?
I know it's supposed to be a good bicycle, but old.
Okay. So what else?
And that's it. And then at some point we all did.
Alright, so now let's talk about the keys. I'm just gonna be open with you, just gonna tell you. Pavel sees the keys hanging in the passenger side door when
Okay,
he arrives at the EMO.
okay,
He and Fotis go for a walk and they talk about the grass that's coming up nicely, the area where the ribbon is. According to Pavel, that's when you leave, and when they come back, the keys are gone.
so.
Suggesting that you
then I
took the
the
keys.
So I'm just gonna pause it at 2:58:49. Detective Clabby was relating what Pavel Gumiani had stated during his interview, is that correct?
Yes, correct.
But that's not exactly what Mr. Gumiani said, correct?
That's correct. That was not what Mr. Guimini had said.
What information did Mr. Gumiani provide during his interview?
Mr. Guimini indicated that,
Objection, hearsay.
Well, the question is, what did Mr. Gumeni say during his 10-hour interview concerning the bicycle. And the objection is hearsay. Well, the panoramic view of what is being shown to the jury is relevant to the questions that are being asked of the defendant. So then in this court view, offered for the truth, but how the police are going to interrogate the defendant concerning the bike. Overruled.
What did Mr. Gomini say regarding the keys?
Mr. Gwynny said that he was leaving, when he left 80 Mountain Spring Road, he left in the Raptor. As he was leaving, he saw the keys to his vehicle in the door of his vehicle. He thought for a moment to retrieve them. At that time, he decided that he was going to be coming right back. He left them. He left, and when he returned with Fotostulos in the Raptor, the keys were missing.
There's no reason why I took the keys and I left, but I.
So this is where this is where it's problematic. This is where we come back to this. All the things that we talked about in here that were said by you, not once, sometimes twice, because we met 2 times before, that
But I said.
that were less than truthful. Now all of a sudden, you're taking the keys. You have to understand how that looks, okay? You do look very bad,
Yes.
okay? You need to explain, why did you go along with this? Because it looks like you knew more than you're saying.
He worked.
Explain it, all right?
Okay.
This is your chance to explain.
On Tuesday morning, after I dropped off Nicole, Pavel and Nicole,
What day, what date, Tuesday?
28.
28.
28th, okay.
After dropping off Nicole in the school, I come back. Fotis and Pavel, at some point they arrived to the kitchen. Fotis grabs a book, a notebook, tears those pages and says, we have to write timelines to remember what happened that day. Pavel said, I don't need to write because I'm gonna remember. And I said, I have to write because I'm not gonna remember. Because, I don't know, I must have a very brilliant mind. I don't.
So did you write out your note?
No, that's not my handwriting. That's
So
Fotis.
that's what I'm asking. Did you write out your note to remember?
I wrote one, but mine were highlighted first. Alarm, took Nicole to school.
This one.
Exactly, that one. Took Nicole to school, like it was very basic,
Right,
the way I wrote it.
right.
And he was the one saying, okay, Pavel, and you arrived, let's say 4:30, I don't remember what time he put Pavel. And Pavel said, you look like shit.
Two.
To Fotis, like that he looked like shit.
Okay.
And Fotis said, well, don't say that. Fotis told Pavel. That was like one thing that I was like, I don't know the meaning of it. Then he said, Michi, you took the keys from Pavel's car. And I said, okay, yes. Like, it wasn't like important. For me, well, it wasn't important because first, I thought that to write a timeline was to kind of remember what you did that day. Which if you see my timeline has nothing. It was like alarm.
So Pavel said you took the keys and Fotis said.
No, Fotis said it to me.
Fotis said.
Fotis
said that?
Fotis said it. He said, Michi, you took the keys. And I said, yes. And he said, and we have to go back and get the car. Or pick up the pickup truck. Pavel's car. In 80. And that's how he was going through the timeline. But he was the one writing.
And he's the one that said what? About the keys and the timeline.
He said, Michi, you took the keys of Pavel's car. And I said, yes.
And what?
And then we had to go and pick up the car.
No.
Well, you gave me the keys?
We have a different story. So they're trying to
But I'm telling you that what I remember of him in the kitchen arguing with us or telling us in the kitchen with Pavel.
Okay, but there's already things that Pavel is bringing up that Fotis is saying, don't tell the police about, right? Like you look like shit, right?
Yes, yes.
Well, what about the keys? Did Fotis,
I don't think.
okay, well, what we think happened is, what we heard happen is Pavel said, and you took the keys, and Fotis said, we're gonna leave her out of it.
What do you mean leave her out?
We're gonna not tell the police, just like Fotis said, we're not gonna tell the police about Pavel saying, you look, I look like shit, we're not gonna tell them that.
Oh, yes, that he said,
Okay.
but he didn't say don't tell the police, he said, well.
I understand, but the meaning was,
All the things that you don't want to tell the police never made it into the story.
okay,
That's the situation you're in. When we sat down with you the first time, everything you told us was from this paper. Okay? All the untrue statements were from this paper. At this point, it doesn't matter who wrote it. You're the one that said it. I'm not the one that has to answer to that. Okay? There was a reason why you followed this, and I'm calling it a script because that's pretty much what it is. All right? What you wrote, Michelle, you wrote a timeline. Okay? Look, it's in here.
This is
All right?
correct.
That's a timeline.
And.
No. This is a script. Friday the 24th. And it just goes through. Michelle's what to her, of course you can.
Because I didn't read his, I did mine.
But when we go through everything you told us the first time we met, it's 100% that page.
Dress, jeans,
I saw the page the next day, I was bored.
coffee.
You memorized it.
Oh, he did.
No, you, not him. You're the one that regurgitated those words. You know, I wanted to include taking a shower together.
We can stop it now.
But no, but then.
30442.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard that there isn't going to be a session on Monday. It's a state holiday. We are going to resume with the state's case on Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock. Have a safe weekend. Please do not discuss the case. Please do not follow media reports about the case.